Well, good evening and welcome to this North East Lincolnshire Council Cabinet Facebook Live event. Everyone's very welcome. This is your opportunity to ask us, the administration of North East Lincolnshire Council, questions about what we're doing at the moment, what we might be doing in the future. We have received quite a number of questions submitted beforehand, so thank you for those. And we will be taking questions live during the 90 minutes that will follow. So I'm Councillor Philip Jackson. I'm the leader of North East Lincolnshire Council and I chair the cabinet meetings. I also have portfolio holder responsibility for the economy, regeneration, devolution and skills. And I'm joined tonight by my other 7 cabinet members, and I'll go around the table, introduce them to you. Sitting next to me is Stan Shreve. He's my deputy leader and portfolio holder for health, wellbeing and adult social care. Next to him, Stuart Swinburne. He has the housing, infrastructure and transport portfolio. Next to Stuart is Hayden Dawkins. He is responsible for culture, heritage and the visitor economy. Going further around the table, got Henry Hudson. He has the portfolio for environment and net zero. Sat next to Henry is Margaret Cracknell. She's the portfolio holder for children and education. Next to her, Councillor Ron Shepherd, portfolio holder for safer and stronger communities. And last but not least, immediately opposite me, Steve Harness, who is responsible for finance, resources and assets. So between us, we have responsibility for all different areas of council activity, and we look forward to hearing your questions tonight. Asking the questions on your behalf is Michelle Laylor, who is our head of communications at the council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson. As Councillor Jackson said, we've got a lot of pre-prepared questions coming tonight, and we do like to make the live questions a priority, so we'll mix and match, and any we don't answer tonight, we will get back to you within the next few days with answers, so please just bear with us. I want to start tonight with a few questions that have come in on Corporation Road Bridge, understandably, given the publicity it's had over the last few months. I'd like to hand over to Councillor Stuart Swinburne for his latest update on the bridge. Thank you, Councillor Swinburne.
Thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you very much to everyone that submitted questions on this particular topic. First and foremost, I would say that I hope that everyone would support me in actually saying that we need to get on with this project now. It's gone on for far too long, and it's a historic structure that we need to get working into full working order again and bring it back into the public realm so that people can see what a wonderful structure that it is. It is one of only 25 bascule bridges in the country, and one other I can relate to is the Tower of London. And you know very well what it costs to actually run these sort of projects, but I would hope that people will realise that we must get this working in its full working order again. It is actually said now, but for legal reasons, I will not be venturing into the role of the former contractor or the present situation, as that may fall as into exempt information. But what I can say is that we are moving on forward with this project now. And we have taken, as you already know, it's been pointed out that the new contractor, Tazica, is on site. And from this week, we are starting with further updates about the shot blasting and various work going on the bridge to start it all again. And it's all been decided by Cabinet and on the advice of scrutiny that the bridge will be kept closed and kept going until we actually get it finished and ready to go properly. More intensive work, including sandblasting and that sort of thing I've just mentioned, is ongoing, and I'm sure that there'll be further updates. There is a message come through from now, it's going to all members of the council, where we are getting a regular update on the particular projects that are going on, and I'm sure that scrutiny will be kept fully informed as well. So there's a lot more work going on now, as you will see as people are going past the bridge, but at this present time, there's not a lot more that we can say apart from that present update on where we are with the new contractor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Swinburne. We've got our first live question in, and I'm going to refer to Councillor Margaret Cracknell on this one, because we've also had a pre-submitted, should I say, question on this. The live one is, will anything ever be done with the land where the high-rise flats were on Freeman Street? That's from a Mr. Eddie Swales. And we've also had a similar question on that one from a Peter Mannering. I think that's how you pronounce his name. So, Councillor Cracknell, I think you may have an update on the future of part of that land at least.
Yes, I can, and thank you for the questions. The land that I think the questioners are referring to is land not owned by the local authority, but is owned by the Housing Association. So I think I just need to be clear on that. The council's proposal is to build a 150 place special school on that particular site. It's an SEMH, a social, emotional, mental health provision that is really needed in North East Lincolnshire, because so many of our children with special educational needs, disability, or indeed with education and healthcare plans often have to go out of the borough for school, and that is not really in their best interest. What we want are those children to be educated close to home with their peer group and in a resource that really does match their needs. So the plan is for a 150 place school on the site near Garibaldi Street is where we're talking about. The project is being led by the Department for Education. It is not one that the council has absolute and total control over. And the funding, of course, also comes from the Department for Education. We're working incredibly closely with them to make sure that this school comes to fruition. But there have been, I have to admit it, there have been hiccups along the way in terms of the land, the ownership of the land, the state of the land, because the local authority is responsible for making sure that land is suitable to put a school on that site. There have been hiccups, nothing that we can't overcome, but it has slowed the process down. But what is crucially important is that we move on with this project. Clearly, we have to contribute, and we know those costs keep rising. But in the bigger scheme of things, the amount of money that this will save by having children not going out of the borough is going to be very much worthwhile. So we were doing all we can at the moment to make sure that that project carries on. We're working very closely with the Department for Education. Everybody is doing their best. Everybody is working with the organisation that owns the land at the moment, trying to bring everything together. But as I say, in the interests of our children who need that particular type of education, it is absolutely paramount that we get that school up and running. I hope that answers the question.
I think it does. And I guess from a regeneration point of view, Leader, as portfolio holder for regeneration, it's going to create job opportunities and tidy up that area. When you look at what the YMCA have done for a big part of Freeman Street, it's something that I guess we would all support.
Yes, very much so. I mean, we want to try and bring regeneration to Freeman Street in the same way as we are doing the town centre in Grimsby at the moment. Yes, so it will be a very important project in that respect.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move over to Cleethorpes now, because we've had a few questions about Cleethorpes. I'm going to try and bunch them all up together. So let's try and do this. And I think Councillor Dawkins and probably Councillor Jackson in tourism, visitor economy and regeneration may want to answer this. We've had one about Pier Gardens from a Roy Saxby, who wants some reassurance that the reflection area by the Memorial Gate, the way it has the military remembrance seats and benches, will remain as part of the redevelopment.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, and thank you very much for the question. Yeah, I can give you that assurance that the remembrance area is very important, and it's not something we would get rid of. I can absolutely assure you. In fact, we're looking to extend it with the addition of some remembrance for Army and Merchant Navy as well that have requested, and it may well see changes as to the layout possibly during the the refurbishment, but I can absolutely guarantee it's here to stay.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to Rocco Fells. Oh, sorry, Councillor Swinburne, you just put your hand up there in time.
Sorry, Michelle, thank you. Just a little bit more information. I've been working or been in touch with the Immingham branch of the Merchant Navy, requesting for them to have a bench. And as Councillor Dawkins has said, they're very in touch with them, and I'm hopeful that that will come to fruition. And it will be a remembrance for the effort that the Merchant Navy put in during the World War.
Thank you. We now move on to Rocco Fells, who's got a specific question about the paving of the marketplace in Cleethorpes for holding events. Why isn't the council utilising the events? Sorry, I'll start again. Why isn't the council utilising the events arena at Meridian Park for said events? Do you have a response to that one?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I'll take that one. Yes. I mean, the difference with the Meridian Showground and the new proposed space in the marketplace is Meridian Showground is there for big events. The marketplace is there for smaller events, all sorts of smaller events that we can operate all year round. And there is no other place in Cleethorpes that we're able to offer that. And, you know, the support for that has been overwhelming. It was only yesterday someone spoke to me and said they cannot wait for that area to be transformed. Because let's look at it, it's a car park at the minute. Whichever way you look at it, it's a car park. And, you know, we want it to be part of the community up there, and it becomes a space that can be used by all of the community. The local businesses supports them, and I'm in full support of the design and the process.
Councillor Jackson.
Yes, I mean, Hayden's absolutely right on that. I think the importance of the marketplace pedestrianisation is that it will enable the businesses to be able to spill out into the paved area as well during the summer season, and hold all sorts of individual events associated with their businesses. But I think there's also a wish from local people and visitors to the area to improve connectivity between the seafront and St. Peter's Avenue, and that will the pedestrianisation of Market Square will certainly help to do that. And 3 or 4 years ago, when we had major public consultation on the Cleethorpes master plan, we got a lot of response from the public saying that they wanted to see more pedestrianisation and better access within Cleethorpes marketplace, and this scheme will help to deliver that.
Thank you very much. And when you look at the well-received Christmas market that's currently on at Riverhead Square, I suppose that's the kind of thing we're looking at possibly for Cleethorpes in the future. I'm going to keep you busy tonight, Councillor Dawkins. We've got another one on the marketplace as well in Cleethorpes. Just actually, I know a lot of them are private businesses, but they're saying here the marketplace should be improved, but all the food place owners and owners of the shop fronts need to make sure they improve the look of their shop fronts as well.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There is certain businesses in the marketplace that could certainly do with an improvement, and I don't think that's any big secret, to be fair. But I think, you know, I spoke to most of the businesses in the marketplace, and they're all keen for this to happen. And I'm sure that'll have a knock-on effect of the way the area is kept, and it will be closely monitored. If we see that certain businesses are not doing their part, then they will be told. That I mean, if they want to have a table outside their premises, they will have to apply for a license to use that area, and you know they could lose that license if they don't look after it as well. So there is a bit of accountability there, which is important.
Thank you very much. We've also got one on the Sea Road project. We're going to finish Cleethorpes, I promise, at some time before midnight tonight, but there's a lot of interest in Cleethorpes this evening. I'd like to know, this is from D Shepherd Ward, sorry. I'd like to know when they are going to start the project across the road from the pier again. And are they having to pay rent on those units that are just stacked up doing nothing? So I'm not really sure what those units are. I'd like to also know who owns them. We may have to get back to on that one. But I think the general thing is the Sea Road project update. So Councillor Dawkins or Councillor Jackson would like to take that one.
Thank you. I'll take that, and thank you for the questions. I think we're just talking about the Sea Road site where, in effect, where the submarine used to be. For those of you old enough to be able to remember that, I certainly am. And of course, that was demolished a few years ago in preparation for the regeneration on the Sea Road site. So the latest situation is that we have now selected contractors to start the building of the new structure on that site there, and we're just going through the legal process of formally appointing those contractors. Some groundworks and spoil removal have already commenced this month, and that will carry on into next month, and the various containers that are on site are to be removed this week as well, as I understand it. So we are about to kick off with this exciting new iconic development, which is obviously on a prime site within Cleethorpes. And those of you who've seen the planning consent information and the artist impressions on the council website, I'm sure will be impressed with the way that this building is going to look once it's completed.
Councillor Dawkins.
Yeah, I think it's just worth noting as well that the containers on the site are nothing to do with the council. We don't pay rent on them. They belong to the previous contractor, and they will be removed, like the leader said. So there's no cost to the council.
Thank you very much. We've got a couple of live questions now, which take us on to the North Prom. People are talking about the North Prom. We've got one pre-prepped question, actually, pre-submitted question. All those lovely artist impressions, but what is going to happen to the rest of the North Prom? The palm tree never happened, and I'm under the impression the grant was sent back, but was it? So we can cover that one off. And then we've got a general question about the market that goes on at the old Wonderland site, and do we do anything to support it? And also we've got, why is the roundabout at Wonderland still in a state of disrepair? It looks like it's been hit by a car, but that was months ago. So I don't know if we can bunch all of those. Councillor Stuart Swinburne may want to come in on that one.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I can just bring you an update on the damage to the roundabout at the bottom of the North Promenade. I've been asking officers to look into that, and it wouldn't take a lot to actually reinstate that roundabout or the brickwork there. But unfortunately, we have to go through a process with the highways team, and it has been down to the design stage of it. And I don't really believe why we need a design team. I'm just saying that because we've got a roundabout with bricks going around it. I don't know what we're going to design differently, but it is in hand, and we are looking at getting it repaired as soon as possible.
Thank you. And then we've got the question about the Wonderland Market. People say it's a lovely place for people to go. This is Susan Newman. And are we going to do anything along that area? And the North Prom question on what I believe was the Coastal Communities grant that was used for some of the artwork.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, as far as the market's concerned, obviously that takes place in Wonderland, and obviously that whatever they put on there, to be honest with you, we don't always get to know exactly what's going on in there. But would it be a private site? But I mean, we'll always support every event that happens anywhere on the Prom or anywhere in North East Lincolnshire. We sometimes need to know as well, so it's sometimes down to whatever the organiser to let NEL team know what's going on, and they'll put it on their website and advertise it for them as well. That's the important thing.
Thank you very much. Cool. Good question here from Zach Bakewell, actually. With all these new houses being built due to the government's targets, what are your plans to ease congestion and traffic congestion in the local area? Which is a difficult question to answer, but one that appreciate people's views on, I think. I don't know whether Councillor Swinburne has a view on that, or the leader.
Yes, that's a great question, actually, and one I think which is exercising all of us at the moment. Clearly, with the vastly increased housing targets that we've got to meet, 622 homes per year under the new government's target, which actually is far too high for North East Lincolnshire. We have made representations to the government about that, but they don't seem prepared to compromise on that number. The problem is if we end up with those homes being built around the villages, Humberston, New Waltham, Healing, we don't really have the infrastructure to be able to support those number of houses in those sort of areas. We know already that the road network in the villages around North East Lincolnshire is already overloaded. And that's part of the reason that we're currently putting together a new local plan, or a revised local plan, which hopefully will direct homes to other areas of the borough. So we've got a number of other brownfield sites in the town centre. For example, we've got the the West site, which we know is controversial, but with these increased housing numbers, it's almost certainly going to have to use that site. But undoubtedly, providing the infrastructure that we need to service that number of new homes per year is going to be a problem, and we are going to have to look at where we can getting Section 106 contributions from developers and builders to enable us to improve the road network. We're going to have to look at what we can do to try and streamline the road network to reduce bottlenecks, but it is going to be a problem. There's no doubt about it. I don't think there's any point in denying that.
A similar question from Mr. Jeff Meacock, actually. What action is planned to prevent traffic congestion in Grimsby and Waltham? So it's a similar question there, isn't it? Sorry,
Yeah.
Councillor Swindon.
Thanks, Michelle. I mean, I totally agree with what the leader has just said about it all, and it is a big problem for us all, especially within my role as the portfolio for infrastructure. And it's a different one that we're working on, actually, but there's a lot of areas that we need to concentrate on first to try and ease the congestion, especially into the resort of Cleethorpes and into Grimsby as well. But it is going to be a problem around the villages and that type of thing. But as the leader mentioned about the local plan, and now we're going into the next stage there of the consultation, and I would encourage anybody to take part of that consultation and hear their views on it and just make a comment to actually what they're expecting from this sort of thing, and get it into the local plan consultation period.
Thank you. And for anybody who's interested, that consultation opens actually next Monday on December the 8th. So look out for it if you're interested in taking part. Another one really actually that leads on to it, although it's about schools, Councillor Cracknell, so I don't know what your view, but are there any plans to build further secondary schools in the area, or is there capacity for all the children in the new primary schools to go up to secondary schools, which again, I guess is about development of the area, isn't it?
As far as I'm aware at the moment, there are no plans for significant increase in our secondary estate, but of course the local plan is very much something that is out for consultation, will be out for consultation, and included within that, as the leader has said, there are a number of homes that need to be built, and the associated infrastructure to support those homes may well include schools as well, not only a secondary but primary education. So there is an opportunity now, I think, for residents to make their views known as far as that local plan and consultation, and if there is the consensus that that number of homes requires further schools, then so be it. We will look at it at the time, but I don't think at this moment we're in a situation where currently we need any further school. Although of course I've already referred to the school that we're planning in, off Freeman Street, which of course we know we desperately need that type of school.
Freshney Place now, we can't go without Cabinet Live without discussing Freshney Place, can we? So we've got one from Sarah Stuck saying Freshney Place in the town in general appears dead, closing shops, etc. Do you plan to do anything about it, or can you do anything about it? And we did have another question from a Chelsea saying, I'm not going to name the restaurant, but when is a certain restaurant coming to
Okay, well, I'll start with a certain restaurant first. We are still going through the legal process with the council with regard to that particular restaurant, and of course it's dependent on us getting to a certain stage within the redevelopment of Freshney Place. The redevelopment work that's going on at the western end of Freshney Place itself. So just turning to Freshney Place as a shopping area, of course, part of the reason why as a council we purchased Freshney Place 2.5 years ago to use as part of the regeneration of the town centre was to enable us to remove some of the retail space there and undertake the regeneration which everybody can now see is taking place in the town centre. Retail is always going to remain important in the town centre. It's obviously going to be a key part of Freshney Place itself. But for the part of Freshney Place that remains open for retail, occupation rates are now actually very high, about 95%. I mean, there have been a number of rumours recently about particular stores leaving. Bon Marche was one of them. I picked up quite a lot of rumours on social media about them closing, which wasn't really very helpful, because we have actually now renewed the lease with them, so they're staying with us, which is really positive. But you know, we are going through a process of renewing the leases with the established tenants in Freshly Place, and they are all very keen to remain with us. They recognise the changes that are taking place in the town centre are going to go a long way to try to help improve footfall and bring more people into the town centre to use the retail premises which are there. We've also, of course, in Freshly Place, had a partnership arrangement with the NHS, and we now have the Community Diagnostic Centre in Freshly Place, taking up what used to be 3 retail units. So again, it's all about diversification of the use of the town centre, bringing people in for activities other than retail, making it a leisure destination, and a location that people can be proud of and want to use again. So we are seeing more interest in the town centre now, as people see that the regeneration work is actually taking place. And I think it is becoming a more vibrant place within the town again. We've just seen the completion of Riverhead Square, for example, which was used extensively the other weekend when we had the Christmas lights switching on, which was a really positive, well-attended event. And again, we'll be seeing more of these type of events in the town centre as we also extend the cultural offering that we have in Grimsby.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson. I move on. I think this is one that Councillor Shepherd, it's a live question that's come in. A recent petition was set up by MP Melanie On to drive for CCTV cameras outside of Thunscoe Primary. Shortly after, 3 cameras were placed outside to check traffic flow. Could you provide an update on the findings from those checks and whether cameras will be placed outside there or elsewhere? That's from Simon Phillip.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the question. Sadly, I don't have the data at hand at the moment, but what I can explain to you is that we have a rolling programme with schools of installing cameras. Certainly outside some of the schools is proving more difficult than others because of the number of entrances and exits that they have. We have to have traffic regulation orders in place. In this particular case, the cameras are in, and as the data then starts to be provided, I should be able to forward that data to you if you can get the details. And when I look at all of the other cameras and the data that we've got from those cameras, they are being extensively used. And we are still finding people will park illegally outside schools in the restricted zones. There seems to be some peaks and troughs. Obviously, the start of a term when there are new people coming into the area, but the message is soon being disseminated from the schools and from ourselves that those people who park in those restricted areas will receive fixed penalty notices. Once they've had one, I think that they're more than aware of it. So that data is coming, but those cameras those cameras will be live now. They will be recording, but I haven't got that data at hand.
We can make a note of that and make sure. We've got a couple. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, I think it's just worth pointing out that regardless of whether or not there have been petitions for cameras outside particular schools, we have had an ongoing programme now for 3 or 4 years of introducing CCTV coverage outside of schools to try and control and reduce parking and make it safer for children. So it is part of an extensive ongoing programme that we have within the council to improve the safety around schools.
Thank you very much. I think Councillor Swinburne would like to come in.
Yes, thanks, Michelle. Just a little added to that, and as the leader and Councillor Shepherd have said, we have a rolling programme, but also there's an allocation into the LTP, the Local Transport Plan budget, for extra cameras, and that is going on year after year, and we do add on to it. So there will be more and more schools coming in online with these cameras as and when they're up the ladder. So yeah, we are following it. It's paramount that we protect the children outside these schools, and that's our main aim. Children's safety is more paramount, and we want to install more cameras to make sure that that's adhered to.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to Cleethorpes Road, and a question I think that Councillor Hudson will be able to answer. What can be done to tidy up Cleethorpes Road, particularly the area between the flyover and the junction with Park Street? It's an embarrassing, untidy mess that visitors see when visiting the town, giving credence to the image Grimsby most undeservedly has.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for the question. Believe it or not, we have a street cleansing team down there every other day. They spend 3 hours down there every other day picking litter. So the problem is not what we're doing, it's what the people that are dropping the litter are doing. They're causing the problem, and that's across the whole borough. It doesn't matter how often we put people out. If people keep dropping it, it's still there for visitors to see. Now, what do? If only we could take a leaf out of Singapore's book and whip the buggers, that would cure it overnight. But I can't see that happening anytime soon. We'd probably need a change of government and a change of law. That would be my advice. But until then, people will keep dropping it. We'll keep picking it up. Thank you.
We don't have a beeper, so
Just to say that's not official cabinet policy.
Councillor Shepherd, did you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. When we came into administration, one of the first things that we instigated was Operation Clearway, from Ryby Square all the way down to Park Street, where we engaged with all of the businesses who were within that area. A lot of them did respond, and there was a good number of those businesses who took time and money to tidy up their frontage. Sadly, one of the issues that we've got in that particular area at the moment is that there's a lot of antisocial behaviour, a lot of criminal damage that's being done to things like road signs and parking signs, and it's causing us problems where we can't enforce until the signage is correct, and they keep tearing it down. As for the buildings themselves, again, where a building is in an unsafe state, we have the power and we do enforce upon people to make sure that those buildings are made safe. And that is something that's been ongoing and ongoing for quite a while now. So we are seeing change, albeit very slowly.
Thank you very much. We have another one from Peter Mannering about Eleanor Street, the old art college. Why isn't something being done to my old school in Eleanor Street? Just how long does this have to crumble into nothing before something can be done about it? I think Councillor Harness.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I promise not to mention corporal punishment in relation to the owner of this building. But under my portfolio, obviously assets comes under the portfolio. This is not an NELC asset. We must stress that straight away. This is a privately owned building. NELC can use its statutory powers for planning, building control, and structures, and if the structures are unsafe. But unfortunately, this is a privately owned building. NELC do take heritage at risk very seriously. We've cleared our heritage at risk register, which is something to be proud of. And if we go round the corner to Home Hill, we can see a building that was on the heritage at risk register. We've done the required work to the clock tower. We've taken that asset off the heritage at risk register, and we are very much looking to get that building back into use again. But unfortunately, when we talk about this Eleanor Street building, it's sad. It really is shameful, but it's not our asset.
Thank you very much for clearing that up. Councillor Harness, I may as well stay with you now we've warmed you up with that question. So we've got a couple from a Joe Winning and a Jane Allen about housing, a discretionary housing payment. So Joe is asking, I'd like to ask why the council or department feels responsible for limiting DHP when over the last 5 years, 50% of the allocated budget has been returned to central government annually. We're all aware that people across the region are struggling economically and are choosing rent and bills over food. These are genuine people suffering hardship, not of their own making. Why are the payments being restricted? And we'll move on to Housing Support Fund after you've answered this one, but thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I'm not quite sure that is the case, but it's quite a technical question, and I will ensure that we get a detailed answer that will be provided. But the money we receive is based on a national formula. It's not based on calculated on a local need. It is a national formula. The availability of the process is widely advertised. So it really is for people to apply for this money. And we would urge them, anybody in need, to apply for this money, to make that move, to apply for the money. And the money is there to assist with rent in advance of securing a property and certain related benefit issues. So the money is there. Now, the question says 50%. So I'm going to be technical for a moment and try and answer that. If we look at the years 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, the budget we are allocated is £244,219 for each of those years. In the first year, we returned 18.5%. The second year, we returned 40%. I don't know what happened there. And in the third year, we returned 27.89%. So that on those 3 years, and I haven't got the figures for this year, quite obviously we're in a financial year, so we haven't got those figures, but we're looking at returning 28.91% of money allocated to us. It is regrettable, quite obviously, if we're allocated free money, that some of it goes back, but it's not at 50%, for sure. But I would again urge people to apply for the money.
So I think what you're saying is actually the money isn't being applied for, so therefore it can't be allocated, Councillor Harness.
That appears to be the information.
We have another similar question about Household Support Fund, and I believe Councillor Von Shepherd is going to answer that one.
I'll start off.
Sorry, you will start and then fine, thank you.
Yeah, when we talk about the Household Support Fund, this is a different type of funding to the previous question. This is a tranche of money that came in during COVID, very useful for alleviating need, obviously, during COVID. And I think we're all a little bit surprised that we're still talking about the Household Support Fund at this stage. And it is quite a valuable amount of money. I think it's £1.5 million for each year. But again, it requires people to engage with the process. It's on our website. It really requires people to engage with the process and try and get their share of this money. Under previous years, this would have been directly under my portfolio. I think Councillor Shreve would have started this off a few years ago. I would have got a spreadsheet. I would have seen exactly where this money goes. As it is at this moment, it's moved into another portfolio. So I'm quite happy to hand over to Councillor Shepherd to finalise the question.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, Household Support Fund, HSF 7, round 7 of the Household Support Fund has started and is ongoing. Currently, we've had 728 applications across the borough for assistance from the Household Support Fund. 86% of those have been successful. Some of the reasons why they're not successful are that there are set criteria for applications. A lot of it's to do with personal finance. Some of it is to do with alternative monies that are available under other schemes that people may have applied for. And the third thing really is the unclear financial situation and the evidence that people supply. So we're currently delivering this across the borough, and we're having fantastic success from Immingham through to Cleethorpes, working with our community-based partners who are going out there and setting up stands to promote Household Support Fund, and we're getting people applications from people of all ages and all levels of support. What I would suggest to people is keep applying. That's what has got to happen. If you don't apply, you don't get. It's as simple as that.
Thank you very much. We're going back to roadworks now, clearly a hot topic around the town. David Chin is actually saying, please can you explain the council's reasoning in accepting both sides of the carriageways from Lockhill roundabout to Westgate roundabout to be reduced to a single lane? They're talking about this morning when the traffic was backed up past Aldi Supermarket on Cleethorpes Road. They're saying apparently this is NPG works that are going on from the 1st to the 30th of December and questioning why the permits were issued. And I do know you've had conversations with NPG about such issues. So I don't know if Councillor Swinburne has a view.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle, and thanks very much for the question. And as we mentioned earlier on, congestion is a major concern for us, but unfortunately, when you've got these utility companies wanting to do the work, then we've got to let them get on with it. And it's a major programme where they've been relaying this cable all the way down Victoria Street, which we know early on, which didn't cause a lot of congestion really, and it went rather smoothly. This is another programme of work where they're moving over the A180 over the bridges there, and that needs to be done before we can actually finish or get on with the actual third bridge of the A180 that we've been working on. So unfortunately, you know, MPG are working as fast as they can, and like in Victoria Street, when they did get on site, they worked 24 hours a day on it, and so there's an opportunity that we can get this done a lot quicker than what they are saying. But please have to bear with us with that sort of problem, and we are working with the contractor to try and make sure it's done as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much. We've had another couple of similar ones, one from a James Aaron and another couple earlier on. So we will move on from roadworks, but I think we will get back to those people with answers to the questions. Interesting question from Hayley Fleming, and I know this is probably not a council-owned building, but are there any plans for the old ice building? I'm presuming she's meaning the old ice factory on the docks and not the ice building, which is on the East Marsh somewhere. It used to be called the ice house, didn't it? Yeah. So I'm not sure whether we've got any updates on that, those two. If not, we can, Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're talking about the ice factory, which of course is located on the port of Grimsby. It did of course used to belong to Associated British Ports, and it has been purchased now by a private investor who has planning consent to convert it into an exhibition centre and a hotel. As of now, we are not actually yet seeing any work taking place on the ice factory. Anybody who's been on the port recently will see that ABP closed off the roads around the ice factory to enable work to commence, but as yet nothing has happened. I understand a number of deadlines have been breached in terms of starting the work there. So you know, it's not a council project. We're not entirely sure what's happening there. I have to say my concern is that the building continues to deteriorate whilst ever no work is being done on it. So, you know, I hope we are going to see work commence on it soon. It would certainly be an exciting development for the port and for Grimsby as a whole. It would deal with what has been an eyesore on the entry into Grimsby for many years now, and it is certainly something that we need sorting out.
Thank you very much. We've got an interesting question here when it comes to communities from Shane Turner. Are there any further plans for teaming up with our local volunteers such as Frank Sparks and the Canoe Cleaner, etc.? They're doing amazing work within our communities, but they can only do so much. I don't know, that's open to the floor really, the working with the community groups.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for the question. We met with the Canoe River Cleaner at Scrutiny last week, and he has outlined some of the key projects that we are looking at across the borough and engaging with community groups. So there's certainly meetings going on with community groups and with people like the Canoe River Cleaner, looking at sustainable projects. What we don't want to do is just come along and do a one-off clean. What we need to be looking at is a project that they can work with us rather than against us, and so we'll achieve far more. And credit to the Canoe River Cleaner and his team. They do sterling work, and I hope he gets well soon.
And if I can just come in there, Michelle, he's actually the really important thing he's doing is going into schools and educating the children about the damage littering does. So, and I really do believe that if you can persuade children that littering is bad and show them the effects of the waste in the Freshney and places like that, they will not drop litter. It was drilled into us at school. I never do it. It's really important work, and we'll support him all the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just got one here, and I'm not sure who wants to answer this one. Probably Councillor Harness, if he does know the answer. If not, we can find out. Is someone still interested in Wellhome Galleries?
Yes, Michelle, there is still a strong interest in Wellhome Galleries, and that we're at the contract stage. It should have been finalised December the 9th, but I believe that's been pushed back into January. So hopefully, I've got all my fingers crossed, all my toes crossed. There will be some good news to announce in January.
Have to look out for that in January. And of course, it was very nice to see the floral hall where you visited when we talk about community groups and how we can support them as well.
Yeah, more than happy to talk about the floral hall. Yes, but that's another one that unfortunately 50-year-old structure had become vacant, unloved, and we're all wondering what the future would be for the floral hall. But fortunately, the Cleethorpes Wildlife Centre have now signed a lease, and they are actively at this moment in time, regenerating the building, cleaning it up, and so we should see some great progress on that one. I would say it's quite. We were all beginning to wonder just what would happen next, but I think I'm there tomorrow morning with the media. I visited the floral hall with Councillor Hudson earlier in the year, and I think we were both disappointed what we saw. I was there last week to look at the building, and I was really impressed what they've done so far, and their plans are absolutely brilliant. And it will also include access for the public, which is another important aspect. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We've got another question about building sites or building areas. What is going to be built on Lindsay Lower Fields in Cleethorpes? I'm not sure whether we've got an update on that for anybody. If not, we can find out.
Yes, my understanding, another colleague will be able to come in on this, hopefully. My understanding is that's going to be a housing site in the future.
Yep, thank you very much, Councillor Jackson. We've got a question here about the Bowling Green West at Sydney Park. It's been empty for a long time with a small pavilion. This particular Sheena Cleater expressed an interest for use of the pavilion, which met the requirements of SAMP, but I've met with inconsistent responses by the asset management team. So I'm thinking probably, Councillor Harness, it's one that you might want to comment on or follow up.
Yeah, by all means, it's something I'm not aware of. If somebody wants to contact me, then I'll ensure that they get the correct response and we look at this seriously.
Thank you very much. We've had another pre-submitted question about illegal shops and vape shops, I think, which Councillor Shepherd, I know, is well versed on.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. The battle is ongoing and will remain ongoing, and I am resolute in my stance that we will take the fight to these people who sell illegal products across the borough. Where they are found, and our officers are working with our partner agents and the police, and where these products are found, they will be confiscated, and subject to further investigation, action will be taken against the owners of the premises. Some of the bits that we find difficulty is actually locating an owner of the business. Quite often they are third generation people. We also understand that there are links to other crime organisations where we're dealing with these the sale of these products, and mainly we are dealing with people from Eastern European backgrounds. Our officers are doing some sterling work. Some of the seizures have been really interesting. I know that we sent several tons away for incineration last week of illicit tobaccos. The problem that we've got with vapes is that the vapes carry a small battery, and there is disposal consideration. It actually costs us money to dispose of those, and this is something that I'm asking the courts for consideration when they're awarding costs, that we're not out of pocket, that you, the public, are out of pocket for the disposal of these products. I'd also like to explore for the future of seizure orders, of where we are seeing these people who set up today, we raid them, but they're back trading tomorrow, seize their assets completely. It happens in other parts of the country. It's something that we've got to adopt, and we need to push it forward. That's something that we're working on.
Thank you very much. We've also got a couple of questions, one that's come in live and one that was submitted about HMOs, which are houses of multiple occupation. Why are HMOs being let or being developed without licenses? Again, illegal activities, practically allowing the law to be broken. And then we've had one come in from Gary Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. HMOs continue to destroy communities. Please be as scrupulous with some of the landlords as you are with our small business, some of our small businesses. The rich are getting richer on the back of government benefits. Councillor Shepherd, I don't know whether you want to take the HMOs question.
Oh, yes, thank you. Certainly the HMOs are being highlighted, certainly in some of the key areas in the borough. We are exploring selective licensing. That is something that is ongoing. I'm hoping that we will again be able to take this back to landlords and reassure landlords that where there are unscrupulous landlords, they will be tackled head on. Houses of multiple occupancy are difficult to control. There are lots of applications coming in for smaller numbers, and it's something that when our officers take time to go and look at the individual applications, a lot of them are well versed in how to answer the more direct questions. We need to just be a little bit sharper with them now and say, you know, is it really needed? That's the final question.
Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle, and thank you very much for that question to Councillor Shepherd. But on HMOs, houses of multiple occupation, myself and the leader, Councillor Jackson, are on the Cabinet Working Group looking into that, and we only had a meeting recently, last week, and we've been meeting on a regular basis and listening with officers and what the recommendations are. But it's all linked in with the selective licensing programme that we've got ongoing as well. So there'll be more information coming out about the regulation of HMOs, and I'm sure the public will be kept informed on that. And these meetings actually that we actually have, the Cabinet Working Groups on it, they are open to the public. So members of the public can come along and listen to what we're actually discussing.
Thank you. Councillor Shreve.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, HMOs are a big issue in themselves, but we all know from a public health point of view that housing conditions are one of the bigger determinants of good, healthy life. And it's really important that we get to grips with this whole issue, not only houses of multiple occupations, but bad landlords generally who are keeping people in properties that are detrimental to health. And as a marmot town, which is what we're becoming, this is something that will become a priority throughout everything that we do. And so it's really, really important that we take action on these issues.
Thank you very much. Just to say, we're getting an awful lot on roadworks around the town. Mark Sutherland, Richard Williams, Sarah Griffiths, Daniel Brown, all saying that they are becoming extremely frustrated with the roadworks around the town, getting views from local drivers and businesses affected by the gridlock. I think we'll take those off and we'll make sure that you get them all, unless Councillor Jackson, do you want to come in and answer them all individually because there are so many coming in, but Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, I think as somebody who's regularly driving around the town, I would share the public's frustration with some of the roadworks that we've got. I mean, as Councillor Swinburne said earlier on, most of these works are being undertaken by utility companies. I think we are unfortunate in North East Lincolnshire and the older parts of Grimsby and Cleethorpes that a lot of the infrastructure is very old, the water pipes, etc., the electricity cables, and they do need repairing and renewing. So we recognise that the utility companies do need to do this work, and of course we are seeing a lot of new homes built in different parts of the borough. So again, that needs the necessary infrastructure and utilities to be installed to enable that building work to go ahead. Having said all that, I do think we need to be more robust in the future as to how we work with utility companies to ensure that they are only closing the road for the minimum amount of time required. There have been a number of occasions when I've been driving around the town and I've seen traffic lights in place controlling traffic, yet there's been no work going on. And I have actually personally made a number of complaints to both Anglian Water and the power grid company about some of the roadworks that are going on. and I do think as a council we need to be more robust in the way in which we control those roadworks and make sure they aren't in place for any longer than they need to be. Having brought all that activity back in from Equans earlier on this year, and it was an area of the responsibility they had, we are now looking at how we can improve our control of roadworks within the borough, accepting the fact that a lot of this work does need to be done, but it's about making it as streamlined and short-lived as possible.
Thank you very much. Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, thanks very much. And quite rightly, what the leader has actually said there, we're all frustrated, especially members of this cabinet. I mean, I get into this meeting here tonight and I was held up on the A180, as people have already mentioned, and it is a big concern to us, but we have actually worked better since we took over from Equans, and we've actually worked better with the utility companies to make them aware of what we are actually putting up with. And we actually did ask them to come along, which they did. They came along to an informal cabinet meeting and discussed what their programme are. And we made it quite clear to them that it's not acceptable where they've got temporary traffic lights up, holes dug in the road and people not working. And that is the biggest frustration when people see that happening. But believe me, the utility companies seem to be a law unto themselves when it comes to actually those other repairs. They can just turn around to us and say, this is an emergency repair. And when it's classed as an emergency, the utility companies don't even have to inform the council of what they're doing. They can just work up one day, put up traffic lights, put up cones and get on with the job. And they turn around working, well, we've dug the hole now, but we're waiting for reactive equipment. That's not acceptable anymore. And we are working with officers now. There is a separate group has been set up to look at congestion within the town. And we are working with everybody that we can to make sure that the people are not up having this upheaval for as long as needed. So we will be working even closer with the utility companies. But I'm sure that people wouldn't be happy either if their gas broke down or their electricity stopped or their water supply stopped. These sort of things need doing to actually replace all the old equipment that they've got. And we have to be a little bit more patient at times and just, work with them as well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Swinburne. We've got a question from Lisa Fox. I'm not sure if anybody's got an update on this. What's happening with the old Pleasure Island site? I'm not sure whether we have or whether we can get one.
Well, certainly don't have a position statement at this moment. I think we're all aware that the site is subject to a planning application. So we're really waiting to see spades in the ground, really. But it's a private developer. It's not a council asset. So we're just waiting for boots in the ground, and it's a question of waiting and being patient. And again, fingers crossed that the development happens and it's successful.
Thank you very much. We've got one on veterans, which I think Councillor Shepherd might answer actually. Joe Winning is talking about councillors saying we're not as good as we should be when it comes to the military covenants. And some staff don't have any knowledge of it and no empathy towards anyone, including veterans. So I don't know if you've got a comment on that, Councillor.
Yes, thanks for that. Thanks for the question. Clearly there are clear routes that are clearly defined for veterans and ex-service personnel who are seeking aid and assistance. We know through Citizens Advice they've just taken on a new Armed Forces champion, and we direct people to Citizens Advice for assistance. We have our own Armed Forces covenant with AFMET, who have a service level agreement with us to provide services, and so between the two, we are taking care of most of the problems that ex-service personnel face. There are some of the work that's being carried out by officers here in North East Lincolnshire, where we are able to direct people who have employment issues, people who have health issues. We're able to direct those ourselves, but most of the time we will send people across the Citizens Advice who have their own Armed Forces member who they've recently engaged and has a wealth of experience of dealing with those kind of people. We're not turning our back on anybody. We never will. If you went to the Cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday, you will see the volume of people and the volume of officers and the volume of elected members who were there supporting our armed forces. Yeah, this is a key and critical part of life that we support each other, and that's something that we are definitely doing.
Thank you very much. Councillor Shreve.
Thank you. Yeah, for a number of years, I was a trustee of Harbour Place, which is providing overnight accommodation for rough sleepers. And it was a matter of some distress to me, the number of armed forces veterans who fell into that class. And the work that Harbour Place do in looking after them and the remedial work they do has really got to be praised. I would make the point, which I know Councillor Shepherd would have done had he thought about it, that the officer recruited by Citizens Advice is at our behest as the authority, and we're paying for it.
We've got Councillor Swinburne and Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Just a quick update on that. Actually, we will always support the veterans. They're an important part of this authority that we will support. And just give you an insight into how we have supported them, especially out at Immingham. And myself and other members of Immingham in Bloom, we worked very, very closely a few years ago with all the veterans, helping them to put up the poppies and the nets and everything out at Immingham, and working with the murals and the displays that we've got on the buildings out at Immingham. So it was very close relationship with the veterans, and they know that very well who is supporting them. So we do support very well.
Yeah, I think it's just worth saying that earlier on this year we had an extensive debate at full council about the veterans and how we look after them and support them within North East Lincolnshire. And as a result of that, we are currently we have instigated an independent external review of the services that we currently offer to veterans across North East Lincolnshire, and once we get a report back from that, we'll be able to see any areas where we think improvements are needed and look at how we can implement any ongoing improvements if they are required.
Thank you very much. We've got another question, a completely different subject, from Lisa Goddard. Are you going to have a direct train service to London? So I know this has it gone off the rails now, or are we still on track?
Well, I'll try and avoid any puns, but thank you for the question, and I'll steam on with the answer. So yeah, I mean, this has been an ongoing issue now for a number of years. As quite a lot of people will know, we lost our direct rail service to London back in 1992. And certainly Martin Vickers, our Member of Parliament, he started his campaign to try and get it restored back in 2010, and we're still working on it now. It is a major issue. It's something that would be of great benefit to North East Lincolnshire. We've got a lot of new businesses moving into the area. We've got a lot of big companies who are saying that a direct link with London would be a great benefit to the area, and I think it would also help us with tourism as well. And it would of course mean that on the destination boards in King's Cross station, for the first time in many years, we would actually see the words Grimsby and Cleethorpes displayed there, advertising our existence, which I think would be a great help. So there's been a lot of work being done behind the scenes by members of Parliament, in fairness, across the whole of Lincolnshire, because we all want to see, what we really want to see is the existing trains that come up from King's Cross to Lincoln that LNER currently run, extended through to Barnetby, Hayborough, Grimsby and Cleethorpes, which one would think would be a relatively easy thing to achieve. It's only an extra sort of 35-40 miles for them to travel, but it seems to be, for some reason, an inexorable problem that we don't seem to be able to get commitment from Network Rail or from LNER to run the service, and we are continuing to press for that. And I was only talking to Martin Vickers and the Conservative shadow transport spokesman about this at the weekend, and again there's going to be more pressure put on down in Westminster in Parliament to try and get this link restored. One of our scrutiny panels, a scrutiny panel that's responsible for tourism, recently requested that the Cabinet should do more to try to get the service restored. So again, we're going to be writing as a Cabinet up to government again and to the relevant minister to try and press for the restoration of the service. I know that all the business organisations in the area have also been lobbying. So there's a lot of work going on to try to get that service restored.
Thank you very much. We've had another question from Donna Major, and I know it might be a number of you who want to answer this because it's about the homeless people in the town, and I know there's been a lot of work going on actually about this matter. So I know Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Shreve have had a lot to do with that. I don't know, Councillor Shepherd, if you want to take that first.
Yes, thanks. We've just very recently done the count of how many people are sleeping rough on the streets. It actually takes place overnight. They start around 10:30 at night, and they will visit known spots around the borough where people are known to congregate in shelter. There is provision, certainly with Harbour Place, who we work very closely with, and the YMCA, to provide certainly during cold weather. But of course, what we are reliant on is that people who book into the facilities abide by the rules. You know, one of the rules clearly is that they're not allowed to take any form of substances, and quite often some people do. There are also those who just will not engage. They're living in tents. The tents are being issued by organisations which encourages people to live in tents. And they will not engage with our outreach workers, and that's proving to be a problem.
Councillor Shreve.
Thank you. It's a complex and emotive subject. I mean, Councillor Shepherd referred to the count. I believe the count was 11 this year, which is a little higher than previous years, but most people walking round Victoria Street or St Peter's Avenue would naturally assume the number's much greater. Because of the number of people sitting with sleeping bags and begging. I make the point, it's a serious point, it's a difficult point. Most of these people are not beggars. Most of these people are not homeless. And I would urge people not to offer them money if you want to offer them anything, a drink or something to eat, and if they accept that, then they're genuine. If they don't accept it, as many of them won't, then they're simply after your money. And we've got to be very, very careful about that whole issue. Harbour Place currently offers rough sleeping. I think it's 15 overnighters, and they do have a number of regulars, believe it or not. And Councillor Shepherd's quite right. The thing that would get people ejected from there is erratic behaviour or use of substances, which is something that needs to be avoided at all costs. Thank you.
Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. The housing team that I work with, obviously within my portfolio of housing, have now launched the actual winter programme where people will be offered, there will be nobody left out on the street in the cold over the winter period, runs through till next April. And then I'm sure that if people do want to work with us and they're accepting, you know, any accommodation, then we will make sure there is something there for them. We will not leave anybody on the street, you know, to be cold in this winter. So please, if you know anybody, contact the homeless team and they will go out and visit them. And if they're prepared to work with us, and then they will be offered accommodation.
Thank you very much. We've got one which is probably Councillor Shepherd again, and I do think there is something going on with this. E-scooters. Oh, I don't need to say any more.
Thank you. My favourite subject at the moment, that with CCTV. There are ongoing operations which I can't divulge to you, but the police have got ongoing operations for e-scooters and e-bikes. Some of the evidence that I've seen of how the police are actually stopping these individuals, if they don't stop, they're being forced off their vehicle. They are illegal. They're illegal to use on the highway. We understand that. Parents, if you've got the inkling that your child wants an e-scooter for Christmas, do not buy them one because they cannot be used on the highway. The ongoing operations that we're having with the police are starting to produce evidence that these individuals who are on these vehicles have no insurance, they've got no protective clothing, and if you get hit by one, they're going to do an awful lot of damage to innocent people. So that operation is ongoing. It started last week. There were several seizures. I've been informed of that, and it is an ongoing operation. So where you will see the police out in force, if you know where these people are and you know where they go to, please drop us a line on Crime Stoppers and just let us know, and the police will take action against them.
Thank you very much. We've had a couple of comments. One of them was pre-submitted actually about the money that is going, the Pride in Place money, particularly for Immingham and Hayborough more recently. And obviously we had the money that went to Grimsby some time ago, and we're part way through that consultation. But it's the money for Immingham and Hayborough that people are interested in. I don't know if Councillor Swinburne.
Yes, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for the question. And obviously, it's very encouraging to know that the government are prepared to put £20 million into Immingham and Hayborough over a 10-year period, which is, £2 million a year. And we are working with officers now, and there is waiting for more information to come through from government on an information pack on the prospectus that will allow us to set up the board that is needed to actually oversee the running of how this money will be spent. But we have been holding regular consultation periods out at Immingham with the residents to get an idea of their wish list. And we will be doing the same in Hayborough as well, asking them for how they'd like to see this money spent and how it's going to be allocated. So it's a question of watching this space, but from 26 onwards, then that's when the money will be allocated, and we will be taking on board, what people want for their area.
Thank you. Keep a lookout then on news about all of that. We've got one about empty shops in St Peter's Avenue. It kind of links to the parking and the future parking in the Cleethorpes area, so it might be for Councillor Dawkins or Councillor Swinburne. What are you going to do with all the empty shops in St Peter's Avenue? When no one can use them, when you pedestrianise the marketplace, you're going to get rid of all the parking. Elderly and disabled people can't walk from the old Vic.
Yeah, thank you for the question. There is additional parking that's been provided in Cleethorpes. I did like the old Vic that's been put in, and also the one at the top of the High Street has been turned into short stay. Certainly helped the spaces, because I think that car park before used to be quite difficult because people used to park in it all day, but now obviously there is spaces available. As far as the redevelopment in the marketplace, there is going to be certain amount of space is still available for nipping into shops and that sort of thing. It's not going to be totally. There will be loading bays, and there will be limited parking bays. And we also have to remember there is Alexandra Road that is free. There's all the spaces on St Peter's Avenue that are free as well, all the way down there. There is obviously St Peter's car park. I think as a borough, we're actually quite reasonable on parking. I have to say, when you visit other parts of the UK. We're reasonable on parking, and we've got to be realistic. We are a resort, and we'll do whatever we can to help people with parking, but we also it might involve a little bit of walking, but obviously some people that can't walk will obviously be able to use them spaces, but anybody that can walk, it doesn't hurt to do a little bit of walking for a couple of minutes a day. I speak from experience.
Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, thanks very much. And just adding on to that, actually, when we've now embarked on the car parking strategy that we're working on, which is across the whole of the borough, and it's always been my intention to try and convince members of the cabinet that we need some form of free parking around the area, even if it's only short-term free parking, in some of the 30 minutes or something like that, just so people can drop off outside the shop, pick up whatever they need, and then move on. So I do believe, as Councillor Dawkins said, that there is plenty of car parking spaces available, especially with the short-term car parking and the old Vic as well. So people aren't going to be losing out on the places that's been taken away from the marketplace in its own. So, we will be working on it to make sure that there are plenty of facilities are there, and looking forward to when we get this car parking strategy sorted out.
Councillor Dawkins.
Yeah, I'll just come back on that if I can. I would support Councillor Swinburne on the half-hour parking for sure. But we also have to remember there's a private car park at the back of the Dolphin pub that is probably the most reasonable one in the resort. If I'm honest, I think it's £1 an hour or thereabouts. I think, and that's basically not much further than the marketplace. It's on the edge of the marketplace, so I think people don't use that a lot, which surprises me. But it's certainly an alternative.
Parking is certainly a hot topic. We've had Susan Newman come in saying school parking in Macrae, I think that's how you pronounce it, Macrae Place. Anybody knows where that is? Have lots of old people down there, so how can we stop them parking in our street? So I guess that's a CCT enforcement one again.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Thanks for the question. I'm actually not too familiar with the area, but one of the issues that we have where we've been on the school CCTV project is that we have in some cases migrated the problem just further down the road, and we've had to put measures in place to mitigate the problems that come from banning parking in one key area. I can, as an example, Lar Marsden School has 5 entrances. We're trying to find ways of covering all of the areas, not just the bits that appertain to the school, but also the approaches to these schools and the roads, the infrastructure, the way it is around schools, doesn't lend itself to enforcement, sadly. What we are doing is we're exploring more civil enforcement officers who are able to go out in the morning and patrol these schools, so that they will get a visit from a civil enforcement officer, and people who do park irresponsibly will get a fixed penalty notice.
Thank you very much. Somebody said make St Peter's Avenue one way, so you could have parking both sides free of charge to encourage more people. Andrew Dale's taken that one on, so I'll just let you take that in and maybe take it back. Councillor Dawkins, James Nuttall has asked, are you confident you will have enough tourism budget to attract people back to Cleethorpes after all the work is done?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Absolutely. I mean, when all the works are done, the resort enters a different level. It brings it right up to the 21st century and something we've not had for a long, long time. But I mean, you know, we're not doing bad for figures. You know, obviously Armed Forces Weekend's a massive weekend that seems to grow year on year. Meridian Showground this year has had record numbers, and I'm sure that will continue to increase in size and numbers moving forward. So I think Cleethorpes is a great place to come, and I don't think there's going to be a massive amount we have to do to encourage people when the works are complete, because I think the works will speak for themselves and people will want to come and see it.
Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, I think it's just worth saying that we are currently undertaking a review of how the resort as a whole is managed from a council viewpoint, and again, some of that may well include how we improve raising the profile of Cleethorpes. But of course, you know, most of the advertising of what happens in the resort is actually undertaken by the private sector, the various hotels, the businesses, and the council can help and contribute towards that. But at the end of the day, you know, we do rely on the private sector not only to run the majority of the businesses in Cleethorpes, but also to advertise their presence and make sure they're bringing in as many people as possible. It's of course within their interest to make sure they do that.
We've got one from Ben Stamp, which I think we're keeping Councillor Shepherd busy tonight. I am very sorry. I thought I saw somebody put their hand up and then didn't see it. Sorry, Councillor Harney.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yep. I mean, the first thing is, I mean, unfortunately, Councillor Dawkins doesn't get a budget, but we will, it's something we can discuss in the future. But can we just, at this point, we've mentioned Councillor Dawkins, can we just say a big vote of thanks to Councillor Dawkins for the work he's doing for the tourism portfolio, putting Cleethorpes back on the map. He's doing a great job. There's more to do, but I think he does deserve great credit. He's got it by the scruff of the neck, and he won't let it go until and the visitor numbers are up, and Cleethorpes is more successful than it is at the moment.
Does he have a target of visitors he wants to attract before his job is done, I wonder?
There's a target, but it's a lot bigger than what we've got now. But I might have to spend 20 years in the job. Now, thank you very much for that comment. That's much appreciated. Thank you. And now you've actually committed to actually giving me a budget. I'm sure things will improve massively moving forward, and we'll have a conversation after the event to discuss that. And thank you very much indeed.
Right, well, we'll move back to Councillor Shepherd now. It's about CCTV from Ben Stamp. Has the council got any plans to make parks and open spaces safer via CCTV? Also, key walking routes to factory sites south of Gilby Road Bridge, which I thought was an interesting point.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got an ongoing programme with our closed circuit television capacity, where we are looking at investing in new cameras. Some of the cameras that we've got are coming up 5 years old, but they have a limited shelf usage, and so we've got to look at the replacement cycle. We've not got enough rural cameras. We understand that. We've identified that is an issue, and it's something that's being addressed. We estimate that we need about 30 rural cameras. At the moment, all of our cameras are deployed all of the time, every day. And so as sites are identified and sites come forward, we will be purchasing new cameras, and those sites will take precedent over for the importance, certainly of such things as fly tipping and hazardous material dumping grounds. They're the people we want to catch. So those new cameras will be put into use as soon as we get them.
Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, when the Conservatives took overall control of the council in 2019, we inherited a sort of disparate set of CCTV cameras, which were, many of them were very old. They didn't all work properly together. They weren't being adequately monitored. The police often weren't able to use them as evidence, the recordings, because they weren't sufficiently high quality. So we recognised that one of the things we needed to do as an administration was upgrade the CCTV coverage across the whole of North East Lincolnshire, put a new control centre in, buy new cameras, extend the coverage of the cameras, and we've spent over £2 million over the last 4 or 5 years in radically overhauling and improving the CCTV coverage across North East Lincolnshire. We're now in a position where we know from the monitoring work that we're doing that's helping to reduce crime across the borough. The police are increasingly using the CCTV footage to be able to take people through the criminal justice system, and at last we've got a CCTV system that is working for the borough on behalf of the borough and is helping to reduce crime and make our streets safer.
Thank you very much. We've had a couple more points on Lindsay Lower School that I just want to point out to you. You may want to take these away, but we've had a Simon Phillip asking, when is there a timescale for development on there? And Hayley Fleming is saying the former Lindsay Lower School field is being used as a dumping ground. Could the field be mowed or cleared and maintained until it is redeveloped? So I don't know, just what somebody wants to acknowledge that and say they may take it away.
Yeah, I think we can take those points away, can't we, and respond to them after the session tonight.
We couldn't have a session without asking about potholes. Okay, so Lewis Elliott is saying, why is it only the wards where councillors live in that all potholes are sorted and the land is cleared and looked after? So, Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I don't think that's actually correct. We don't just manage the potholes in our own wards, that sort of thing, but we do have a pothole fund, an extra pothole fund from government, and we do have a programme of work within the LTP, the Local Transport Plan budget, and so it is monitored on a regular basis. We do have highways officers go out there and make sure that they do adhere to the correct procedure about marking them up and what is needed and what isn't. And there is a programme of work that carries on, and if it is a serious pothole, then it will be repaired within 3 working days. And so there is a robust programme of work going on, and believe me, it is not just in the areas of the wards that we're representing.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson.
I think it's just worth pointing out that we do have 42 councillors in North East Lincolnshire, all of whom live within the borough. So the chances are you've got at least one councillor living in every ward. So you know, we are fairly spread across the whole of North East Lincolnshire.
So the potholes are going to be filled in anyway. Okay. Going back to Grimsby Town Centre, we've got a question about the old Devonshire House building and what's happening to it with all the new works in the town centre. It seems a bit strange not to bring this building back into the plans, even if under compulsory purchase. That was from a Wayne Smith. Leader, I don't know.
I mean, yes, I agree. In an ideal world, we would have included Devonshire House within the redevelopment scheme in the town centre. Unfortunately, it's not a building that's owned by the council. It's in private ownership. The amount of grant funding that we got for the redevelopment of the town centre and the amount of money, additional money that the council was putting in, didn't provide enough for us to be able to purchase Devonshire House. So it is still in private ownership. Obviously, we will be trying to talk to the owners of that, and are trying to talk to the owners of it to see what may happen to it in the future. Hopefully, when we get the redevelopment of the western end of Freshley Place completed, we've got the new cinema open, we've got the new leisure facilities open, and the more people are being attracted back into the town centre. Redeveloping buildings like Devonshire House will be a more attractive proposition for the private sector owners, and we'll hope at that stage, the owners will step forward and do something with that building.
How is the redevelopment going, Councillor Jackson?
Well, people may have seen the recent media publicity about the redevelopment of Freshley Place. We've now completed all the demolition work that was required at the western end, taken down all the old retail units and the old market hall. We're now piling and putting in foundations for the new structures that will be going up. And in the new year, people will see steelwork starting to be erected for the new cinema and other leisure facilities. We're also, of course, working on converting the old British Home Stores building into the new market hall, and work is progressing well on that. So currently we're on budget and we're on time with the project timings. So we're looking to have the development finished early in 2027, and at that point the owners of the operators of the new buildings, the cinema, for example, will be able to move in and do the fit out of the cinema to enable it to be brought into operation. So yeah, it's progressing well. Of course, there are always hiccups and problems that arise during major redevelopment schemes like this. At £50 million, this is the largest regeneration scheme we've seen in Grimsby. People will know from just building their own home extensions in their own homes that things do go wrong from time to time. But assuming that we don't have any major hiccups, we will be completing the work early in 2027.
Thank you very much. We've only got a couple of minutes left now, and we've still got some questions we haven't answered, but we will get back to everybody. We've had a huge variety of questions tonight. And while I hate to put cabinet members on the spot, maybe if you want to reflect, we're into December now, so we're nearly into a new year. Do you have any final reflections of 2025, or what you're wanting to do in 2026 before we finish? And whether I want to open that up, Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, on reflection, I would like to see less congestion throughout the borough, and I'm sure this is something we will be working with. And I do believe there's one question that you haven't asked that was down on the list, Michelle, of a pre-submitted question about that congestion round the roundabout there, and the gentleman there suggesting about the yellow box there that might help to ease the congestion. And just to let him reassure him that this is something that I have looked at, and this is something I'm working with officers, and obviously it is a big concern. And we've actually looked at using some of the BSIC money, the Bus Service Improvement Plan money, that we can use for road infrastructure as well, to try and alleviate the problems that's caused by congestion. So there is an ongoing programme of works going on, and we will carry it forward into the new year. And I'm hoping that we will have some more good news later on in the year, in early next year, about the congestion side of things.
Councillor Swinburne will receive all the congestion comments and questions that we've had, so we will work through them. We've got a queue of people. Who wants to go first? Councillor Dawkins.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'd just like to say to everybody, 26 is going to be a big year for Cleethorpes. A lot of redevelopments happening: Sea Road, Bear Gardens, Marketplace, and obviously, hopefully, the station approach as well. Outside the station, that's all up for redevelopment, all starting early 26. So that'll be fantastic, and there'll be hopefully some good news coming out with regards to Meridian Showground, which I'll share with you probably at our next live event, I guess, hopefully. So Cleethorpes is on the up, and I get everybody to support that, and we all need to get out there and support our local resort, our local town centre. people moan sometimes about Freshney Place and it's dying. Well, it only dies if you don't use it. So we've all got to do our own little bit there, support local businesses, and that starts this Saturday with Small Business Saturday weekend. So, come out and support your local businesses, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Councillor Jackson.
Yes, I mean, Councillor Dawkins is absolutely right. There's going to be a huge amount of work going on in Cleethorpes over the next 12 months. I mean, we're going to see that the resort transformed with these 3 major levelling up fund projects that we've talked about this evening. And of course, that's very similar to what we've seen happening in Grimsby over the past year. The vast amount of regeneration, redevelopment that's happening within Grimsby, that's going to start in Cleethorpes as well. So I hope people will be patient with us in terms of the disruption that's going to be both in Grimsby and Cleethorpes over the next year. We need to be doing that work. We need to be moving the area forward. That's our prime objective as an administration, to move North East Lincolnshire forward, to make it a better place for people to live and work and to spend their leisure time. And we want to improve the place so we can attract more business and industry to the area to get better paid jobs here as well. So it's all part of a major programme. And seeing the area transformed and improved. And I think tonight we've seen from the range and depth of questions that we've had and the responses we've had from cabinet members, the vast amount of work that we do across a whole range of different activities in North East Lincolnshire, and it just shows the spread and the depth of what the council does within the borough, and the work that cabinet members do as well. So I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank everybody who submitted questions, and we do like to take the opportunity to talk to the public and to people about what we are doing, and we encourage you to take part in future events like this. I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank cabinet members tonight for the responses they've made, and now I think now we're in December, we can actually officially wish people a Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year, which we will be trying to promote across the whole of North East Lincolnshire.
Thank you very much. And I think we will be back in early February. And just to say, we do these events because they're the best way that the Cabinet can reach the public. We have tried live events in the past and they haven't been as well responded to or attended. So thank you very much, and you will see them in February.